this spreadsheet, I'd like to show how we do the data calculation. In this case, we have the first column there, the farmland. We have 3 farms, Farm A, Farm B, and Farm C as we scroll down. These are the grazing systems simulating what the farmers are practicing. In Farm A, that was the high input system with improved pastures and more application of superphosphate. And with farmland B, that we call the typical one, being practiced by most of the livestock producers, where you find that the pasture is not quite improved, it has moderate inputs, and they keep animals for a longer time, low stocking rate, but they're being kept for a longer time. And in C is about the intensive rotational grazing, where the animals density is quite high, but for a few days, whether 2 to 3 days or 7 days at most. So what do we have here in the second column? We have the predictable dry matter, and this data has been collected over time. And the third row there we have the green DDM, the one I was saying that that's the digestible dry matter for the animals, because the green herbage can be there, you're offering to animals, but not all of it is digestible. So you need to calculate how much is the digestible dry matter to these animals. That will be for the green as well as for the dead. And we also have to calculate the percentage of the green, because sheep particularly, they are more selective. You put them on the paddock, they'll start grazing the legume if it's available, and if they run out of the legume, the white clover or lucerne, and they'll go into the green herbage. And if they run out of green, then that's when they'll go into the dead herbage. So we calculate the digestibility as well. And here we have the MD, the concentration of the pasta I talked about in that flow chart, for the dead as well as for the green herbage. And we'll do for both the Farm B and also for Farm C. And then down here we still have the dry matter for the green, dry matter for the dead, for those farmlands. And because I said another component of the pasture is pasture growth rate, we say in here for Farm A, Farm B, and Farm C, kilograms dry matter per hectare per day. How we calculate it for the first few months, we didn't have the measurement for the pasture, and then we started measuring it, and we can see that, as I said, that the pasture growth rate grows daily. When it started April, it was 9.09 kilograms dry matter per hectare per day for Farm A. Surprisingly, for B and C, it was quite high. And as we move on, like we say, during dry conditions or during winter time, pasture growth rate can be low, sometimes can be 0, but during favorable conditions, it can be as high as 60 kilograms dry matter per hectare per day. So pasture growth rate, herbage mass, and their percentage, green percentage or dead herbage, they are being included in the calculation of pasture supply. And because these farms here, all of them, they had 50 hectares, the size of the paddock. So overall, the total for them, when we calculate the ME for these farmlands, based on the green herbage, the dead herbage, the crop, and the supplement, when they've been supplemented during winter months when there's not available feed. Now we calculate based on the hectares of each farmland. And for on the animal demand side, because these systems here, in each farm A, farm B, and C, we had different mobs of animal. We had mature ewes and wethers, pregnant ewes, lactating ewes and lambs, and weaners and hoggers and cattle. So we calculated their animal demand each month based on that animal demand spreadsheet calculator I talked about. And it has been calculated based on their live weight, kilograms, and also based on their requirements. I talked about the DSC rate, dry sheep equivalent, for these animals. For sure, for the pregnant ewes, lactating ewes, and with their lambs, they will have a higher DSC rate, and that will affect the calculation because they demand more, they have higher nutrient requirements. Weaners and hoggers, because they are also growth rate is quite high, they grow quicker, so they'll also have a little bit high of the DSC rate compared to cattle, compared to dry ewes and the wethers. As we scroll down, after we have also calculated on the animal demand based on the size of the paddock for each system, now we have we can have our data graphically here for both farm A, farm B, and farm C. We still have the herbage mass, in this case that is for the green herbage and for the dead herbage for all the farmland. And down there again, the second row of graphs, we have pasture crop ME per hectare for this farmlands. And you can see we have also included the supplement ME, because in winter time, when there is not available feed, herbage mass has gone below the benchmark, we have to supplement these animals. Quite interesting to see high supplementation on farm A, which is high input system, compared to farm B, the typical district one, and farmlet C, the intensive rotational grazing. Why? Because farmlet A, though is high input system, but because it's carrying quite high stocking rate of animals, 15 DSC of animals, compared to B and C, which were carrying around 7.5 of the stocking rate. And so even though the pasture was growing quicker, but because it was carrying higher stocking rate, then the animals were consuming it faster and they needed supplementation. In this row of graphs here, we have the animal demand calculated for the three farms. For the mature ewes and wethers, those are the dry ewes and wethers, and lactating ewes, lambs. For cattle, pregnant ewes, and weaners and hoggers, these are their animal demand, the ME per in this case not per head, per hectare, because now we have included the size of the farmland. And so we have calculated for all the mobs of animals how much they will demand from that pasture. So now the interesting thing is, now we have seen on the pasture supply, the herbage mass that we have seen in these graphs, another component of the pasture supply, the growth rate and supplement, and the animal demand side. Now we want to see how each system has performed, so we can give the farmers the guidelines and rules as to which system probably performing much better that they can opt to practice. Under the high input system, we see few number of times there that the negative balance of their ME, the net balance, and comparatively with the typical district one, flexible, not so much, and with the the intensive rotational grazing. With this high input system, yes, it was improved pasture, highly fertilized. We assume that there was fast growth rate, pasture growth rate, but the animals were consuming it. And because when we measure the animal performance, their live weight and also their condition score, it was quite high, comparatively significantly high compared to the other two farmlands. But the reason why we see the negative balance there is because it was carrying higher stocking rate, which was reflected in the performance of the animal. They perform quite well, significantly higher. And so the pasture crop rate didn't show much a significant difference between the farmlands. Why? We assume that because the animals were consuming it faster, as this farmland was carrying high stocking rate. For this farmland, which is the typical district that is being practiced by most of the farmers, where they keep low stocking rate of animals for a long time, some months, you find the animals are still in the same paddock. In that case, because there are few animals being kept there for a long time, that gives the animals opportunity to select their preferred pasture species, the one that we are saying that they are palatable species. So they will select those species. And what happens in the long term, we find that those desirable species, they will disappear. You go and measure a botanical composition, those species have disappeared. Why? Because they don't have potential to regrow. The moment when they come up, the animals are grazing, peeing on them. So ultimately, they will be replaced by less desirable species, and you find that your paddock is patchy, it has built up into some fawns, and some weeds are coming up as well. On the third one here, the intensive rotational grazing, this one, not much the animals are having choices, so they don't select actually because there is a higher stocking density in here. You have many animals being kept there for a few days and then you move them, so they don't actually select. So whatever the feed offer you have for them, they will graze, and then you move them between 2 to 7 days. They'll move to another paddock. The problem with this system is because its impact on the animal performance, because the animals don't have a choice to select their palatable, desirable species. So whatever they have there, they will graze. And so their live weight, you find that under the intensive rotational grazing, their live weight animals is quite low compared to the other systems. But with the pasture sustainability, you find that it's performing quite well because the animals don't have time, because they are there for a few days and longer resting period. That gives chance for the pasture to regrow. So in a nutshell, these are the comparison of the 3-farm system that we are saying that we can use metabolizable ANH system to assist the livestock producers in making those decisions and the guidelines, rules for their grazing enterprises to choose which system is doing better for them in the longer term for the sustainability and productivity of their pasture species, especially the deep-rooted perennials plus persistent legumes, as well as for the high production of their animals, if they're keeping animals for meat or for the wool production. I think that's all.